Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. This is Fix and Flip, a new investment strategy from Stake. Joining me today is Nahil, our asset manager, Fahid, our senior product manager, and my name is Jad. I'm your head of real estate at Stake. Today, we're going to take you through a bit of some information about Stake and then do a little bit of a market deep dive, a snapshot on what's happening in the market, how a trend in the Dubai real estate market is really capturing everyone's attention, and what we're doing on Stake about it. So we're introducing a few investment strategies and a new one, which is called Fix and Flip. We'll leave some space at the end for some Q&A, and then we can answer your questions, but feel free to drop everything that you have in the chat, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible. So I'm sure most of you are aware, but just as a recap, this is who we are at Stake. We all know that real estate is a popular investment in basically is a really popular asset class. It is, however, very restricted. It is inconvenient to access and is concentrated with the top people, with top investors who have deeper pockets. It is not really transparent, it is illiquid, and there's barriers to entry and barriers to exit. And that's essentially where Stake came in. We built a platform to allow you to invest in real estate really simply from a very low entry point of 500 dirhams. You can do it quite seamlessly in 3 minutes. It allows you to diversify in as many properties as you want, diversify your risk in different areas and different investment strategies. It is fully transparent. We are regulated as an entity by the Dubai Financial Services Authority, and that makes sure that it ensures that your investments are safe. It allows you to earn a monthly income, and it allows you to sell your stake based on a exit window or a full exit that we'll discuss later. So far, we are at over 800,000 users on the app, on the platform, from over 170 countries, and we have funded through our platform over 500 million dirhams in properties. That's over 310 properties, and these properties have paid 21 million dirhams in rental income. And you can see the incremental growth of the transactions done through our platform over the past 4 years, almost, since we launched in 2021. I'm going to pass over to Nahil, who's going to take you through what's happening in the market.
Thank you, Jad, and welcome to everyone. It's our pleasure to have you on the webinar today. Before we dive into the content of the Renovate and Flip model, just want to go through some data and some insights into what's happening in the Dubai real estate market. So on the next slide here, you're going to see the data specifically for the secondary market. So for those of you that don't know, secondary market is properties that have already been constructed and are already owned by landlords, essentially, in Dubai. So you can see the trends. There's been a couple of peaks over the last couple of years, but since the 2020 downturn, it's only been up for the real estate market. It's been booming, and on an average growth rate of 15% since 2020. So all indications are showing that this trend is going to continue. And on the next slide, we'll also look at the off-plan market. So these are properties that are not yet constructed, pre-construction. So typically attracting investors that are looking at properties to be ready in the future. So the growth rate in the off-plan market slightly lower at 9.5%. Next slide, please. Yeah, slightly lower at 9.5%. But the most important thing about these two graphs as a key takeaway is that although we're seeing great appreciation on a year-on-year basis in the real estate sector, in the off-plan market, the peak price that we've had in the last 10 years compared to today, we've already surpassed that by 30%, while in the ready and secondary market, we've only surpassed that peak by 16%. So all indications are showing that the demand in the secondary market is going to continue to be strong in the coming years. Next slide. So what trends are really fueling this growth? first of all, there's the influx of high net worth individuals to Dubai. There's a big demand for properties in prime areas. So these are the DIFC, the Dubai Marina, downtown. So most of you that have been investing with stake for a while, you're familiar with these areas. You've been getting pretty good rental yields over the last couple of years. But another trend that we're seeing really fueling this rise is the demand really for modern and ready homes in the market. Next slide. So just taking a look at kind of what's currently on the market for real estate investors, you have a lot of the properties that are being constructed have higher costs for less space. So they're smaller in size. It's months, in some cases, years away from handover, 2027, 2028. A lot of the layouts that are coming out because developers are facing increasing pressure to get more profits out, they're suboptimal, just trying to manage the space. A lot of the finishing is very generic and bland. And in some cases, they need some work. So, some off-plan properties are being received by investors and they need to do work on them. And then a lot of the development is in new remote communities that are located in outskirts of Dubai. So who here likes to commute? If it's 30 minutes, it's okay. But as traffic, becomes more and more of an issue, yeah, these properties are available. So yeah, so on the flip side, what are investors looking for? And at the end of the day, it's value for money, ready to move in, spacious size, and these demands from the market are more available on the ready properties rather than the off plan. That's a simple point here. Next slide. So yeah, so this is basically resulted in an emerging trend, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. And actually, we just launched our first flip opportunity earlier today, and already we've seen a lot of traction, a lot of interest. But essentially, it's a trend currently to acquire secondary market homes, renovate them to do value creation because these homes are larger in size. There is more room for that value creation in order to sell them at a profit. Um, Several of these examples have been covered in the media from Khaleej Times, The National, and others. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of trend towards renovating and flipping, and part of why we're here today is to discuss how Stake is going to help you as investors to tap into this potential. So the bottom line question here also is that if renovating and flipping was so easy, why isn't everyone doing it? And quite simply, it's not as straightforward as you might think. Yes, there's the demand is there, and it is a trend, and there's a lot of investment going into acquiring these ready secondary market properties and renovating them. But the fact is, one, it requires a lot of upfront capital, and also finding the right property is not as straightforward. We're looking at different points like what area, what development is happening close by. And then also once you go into renovation, it's you need to be working with the right partners. And yeah, finally, just in terms of timing, so whenever we invest in a property, you need to look at how quickly you're getting back the returns. So oftentimes, a less seasoned investor that's trying to do a renovate and flip, can fall into some common pitfalls like not choosing the right contractor and also falling to hitting costs. And yeah, with investing or doing renovation on your own, if you just do an individual unit, it just limits the opportunity for diversification. And as you all know, diversification is a very key part of what we do here at Stake. So yeah, that's the key takeaway. Successful property flipping in Dubai needs the right opportunity. You need to have well planned in terms of what the costs are, the process, and then working with trustworthy partners. So I'll pass it over here to Fahid, who's going to dive deeper into what we've been up to at Stake with strategies and flips in general.
Thank you, Nahel. Hi, everybody. This is Fahad. I am the Senior Product Manager here at Stake, and it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Let me take you through a little bit of where Fix and Flip fit within the Stake app. So if you remember, those of you who have been who are familiar with the app, we recently brought you investment strategies. And those are there to help you make the best investment decisions that fit your principles. So these are basically expert-backed strategies that give you a chance to cut through the noise, get to the bottom of what flavor or theme that property is about. Make sure that it aligns with your expectations. And basically save time and effort in deciding whether this particular property is for you. So, for example, you have capital growth. These are properties that target high capital appreciation. They're in there for the long game. High yield are those optimized for high rental income. Balanced is a mix of both. So, moving on to the next slide, flips is the newest and biggest, baddest boy in the investment strategy lineup. Here, the essential tenets are that you invest in suitable properties. These are undervalued properties that we think have huge capital appreciation potential in the market. We then proceed to renovate and refurbish. That means completely overhauling the whole thing from the inside, making it look amazing, furnishing it, making it looked like a completely different place. And then finally, we're going to list it again and aim to sell at a much higher value. You can see here from the screenshots on the slide that the product for flips follows the same style as the rest of these investment strategies that you've seen across the app, but it does have its special touches. Moving on, why are we putting this on Stake? So why are we having fix and flips? Basically, long story short, this used to be a game just for people who can afford it. So in the spirit of Stake, where we're democratizing real estate investment, fix and flips brings renovating and flipping properties over to the masses as well. So not only are we making investing in real estate easier and available to everyone, we're also leveling the playing field when it comes to buying an entire property, renovating it, refurbishing it, fixing it up, making it look amazing, and then putting it back up into the market. We're making that accessible to everyone. So this usually is only available to people who have enough money, people who know the companies that are able to renovate, and then relist. So we're bringing that over to the masses. Moving on. How fix and flips works on Stake is essentially, it is, like I mentioned, the fourth investment strategy. So you'll be able to see on the listings page which ones are fix and flip. We just launched the first one, so that you should be able to see that now, although it's funding fast. And how it works is basically a trusted process that you can understand easily. We basically source vacant properties off market, residential, in highly sought after areas in Dubai, like my friend Nahel mentioned, DIFC, Business Bay, the Palm, everywhere that's really attractive. We then partner with experts to renovate the property, get the work done as fast as possible and at the highest quality possible. And then once everything is complete, once the renovations are done, we list the property with, as usual on Stake, the top agents in the market in order to sell and realize a gain on your investment and make sure that all investors get as much profit as possible. So, in 3 words, invest, renovate, and then sell. And thank you, everybody. Over to my colleague, Jad.
Thank you, Fahad. Thank you, Nahel. So what I'd like to show you now is actually that we've been doing this kind of for some properties. We're trying to add value to the investors and to their properties by budgeting for a renovation and some minor fit out improvement. Sorry, not a renovation, some furnishing and minor fit out improvements. So you've got on the screen the before and after of 3 properties that we've selected to showcase here. A 1-bed in Port de la Mer, a 3-bed in Boulevard Point in downtown, and a 1-bed in Index, where we managed with a very small touch point, a very small budget, to furnish the property and get more rental income from it. So there's that appetite there. We have those partners, but now we're really scaling this to the next level. So we would like to take you through how fix and flip works on a step-by-step basis. It's a 6-step process, which starts with us finding the suitable properties, as my colleagues mentioned. So going to those areas, knowing in advance which areas are the most attractive ones for high net worth individuals, for where those buyers want to get their money in and find that property in Dubai that they're going to call home. We know success stories when we see them. So we'll know what's been done in the market through our partners, through our brokers, through our property managers, through the agents that we work with. We look for evidence of success. And this is basically what we shared earlier with the snippets from Khalij Times, from the National, from the media of what's been successfully done. Then we analyze the market. So we do an in-depth research on trends. We work with the third-party valuation agents, and third-party valuation companies that are regulated as well to establish what an achievable sales price is. And then we go to our brokers and we scout the market for off-market deals. So deals that are not necessarily, you're not going to find them on Property Finder and Bayut. You're not going to find these premium listings generally with the public. Once we've identified that property and we've really seen the potential that it has, we start looking at what we're going to do with it. So we'll do a risk assessment. We'll start with inspections and even send experts, third parties, companies that are specifically trained with the right tools and the right knowledge to survey the property and allow us to know before we go in that is there any major leakages? Is there any mold? Is the property at any risk? How's the structure of the property? That's step 1. Then we look at the design and the planning. What do the potential buyer needs? And also this is based on our market knowledge, based on our partners. What are the industry best practices to get the most value out of this property, right? What story do we want to tell with this property? Who are we selling it to? Is it a wealthy investor, wealthy homeowner that's going to fly in from Switzerland? Or is it a guy with their family that's coming in from India that wants to call Dubai home? Like, we start studying the market based on the area, based on the criteria. Then we identify a project manager, and this is an entity that's external to Stake, that is an expert that has delivered similar projects before, whether it's locally or regionally or around the world. And this is where we ask these companies to manage the whole process, from the design, the ideation of the design, to selecting the materials, to coming up with construction drawings, to basically getting everything ready for the property works to start. And then they in turn partner up with contractors, and they send us a short list of contractors that are the best kind of, we call it techno-commercial offer for the renovation work, right? We need someone that's technically very qualified, that will have the right labor, that will not force us to go into cost overruns, and will be able to execute the works rather quickly, rather timely, at the best cost possible, right? And that's where we shortlist several companies and we select the best one. Once all of this is done, we'll obviously have done 3D renders, we'll have visualize the design for you, and we get the property ready to go live on the app, on the platform. And you have a chance to invest. Now, as we mentioned before, we listed a property earlier today, about an hour, close to 2 hours ago, and it's going really, really fast. And we're very, very proud of that achievement. A lot of work goes to get to the going live stage. And that's basically getting investment memorandums ready, getting the product ready, getting everything together to show what the investment cost is going to be, what we're going to be looking to exit the property at, and this is what you're going to see on the app. You will invest in the property. Once it's fully funded, standard stake procedure, right? We're regulated by the DFSA. We are registered in the DIFC. So we'll go and set up a special purpose vehicle. If you're not familiar with the type of product, it's a company that is specifically set up to own this property in the DIFC, where you will have a share based on your investment value, right? So that SPV will have its own bank account tied to it. This is where we'll put the money. It's an escrow account with Emirates NBD. We'll put the money for the purchase price, for the transaction costs. Basically, that's your Dubai land department fee, your broker fee, any stake acquisition fee, and so on. We'll also park the renovation costs that are going to be later on paid and are basically at the previous stage. We have shortlisted the BOQ and the bill of quantities and shortlisted the contractor and the cost that they're going to incur for renovating the property. And then we are going to budget for something called an operational buffer. And that's essentially, as we'll get to later, this is not an income generating property. It's a property that's going to be vacant for the duration of the investment as we do the renovation works and so on. So it will incur some costs like the registration of the SPV for the first year, some insurance, some basically a buffer for the service charges for the first year, as well as we take a potential for any cost overruns. We calculate a certain percentage of the renovation costs to ensure that if there's ever any cost overruns and unforeseen kind of expenses, we have those pre-budgeted. And then you receive your share certificate basically once all of that is done and your title deed, and we get to work. So that's step 4. And you'll see a really nice design that our product teams done. It's the project timeline, which takes you through the different steps required between the property going and getting funded until it's sold, right? So as soon as the ownership's transferred, we appoint the project manager and the contractor officially. They then proceed with using the construction drawings and obtaining the necessary permits and approvals, right? This is a very common question that we get. How do you know that you're going to get a permit for the scope of work that you've chosen? Well, that's why we work with experts, right? We know the developers. These experts know the developers really well, and they'll know what is going to get approved and what's not going to get approved. We're not tearing down the entire property. We're maximizing value with the best kind of spend possible. So they'll know in advance what's going to get approved and what the approval timelines are going to be. So we will apply for the Dubai Civil Defense approvals, the building management approvals. In some cases, you need some DEWA approvals and so on. All of that is applied to from the get-go, right? The project management then, as soon as the works get started, start doing regular site inspections. They carry out like progress inspections, quantity surveying, and they share with us those reports. And we are looking at making that available to you on a periodic basis, on a monthly basis, let's say, for example. And then you can see what's happening to your property as the timeline progresses, right? We also track the budget and track the expenses. So we only release the payments based on milestone completions, right? So if they've completed the kitchen, they unlock an X percentage of the payment. If they've completed the bedrooms, the walk-in closet, and so on and so forth. Next step is the renovations are done, right? The property's ready. So we use whatever we have available, whatever network we have available to us. So that's from your agents, your brokers. Really, we work with the top agencies in the Dubai market. So we go to them and say, this property is going to get ready in a few weeks. You can start marketing it. You can start getting it to your investor, to your high net worth individuals that are going to want to buy the property, right? And we would have given them that advance notice. And the reason why we do that is we want to sell the property as soon as possible, right? Maximize your return on investment. We're not looking to market it on listing sites like Property Finder and Bayut. We're looking for those off-market deals where you're going to get access to the best possible price. If a property is listed on Property Finder for 10 million dirhams, that's it. Your cap is 10 million dirhams. You're not going to get more money for it. However, if it's listed off market and the agent is incentivized to get the best value for the best value offer for it, they're going to try to get it higher. So that makes sure you get your best return on investment. Now, we do then is as well, we do targeted outreach, right? And that's kind of going into those individuals, those high net worth individuals that are moving into Dubai and looking at international investors, right? As a safety measure, what we also include in the process is making sure there's valuations carried out at two touch points in the property. So as usual, as you're used to with stake, which is a previous step, as soon as a property goes live on the platform, there's an inspection report evaluation that goes live with it, right? This is done by a third-party company. It's regulated by RICS in the UK. RICS is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. They are looking at market data, at market transactions, and they're looking at the value of the property at the time of purchase, right? And they give us that valuation. Then when the property renovation is done, they go back to visit the property. They look at the scope of works that was done. They look at the end product, the end result. They look at how much money was spent on it. They look at similar transactions in the area and in around basically the area where the property is. And then they give us a new valuation, which validates the works that have been done, right? And next step is basically when we receive an offer on the property, right? And you're ready to realize a return on your investment. So we will go in to the listing and say, right, we're projecting to sell this property at X millions of dirhams, right? And if our aim is to get as much above that as possible with the market as quickly as possible. So the minimum that we would proceed with is that projected exit sale price, which is going to be available on the app, is going to be available on the breakdowns and the projections and so on. However, if we're able to get more than that, we proceed directly with the sale. We don't need to do a vote. We don't need to waste your time and waste potentially an opportunity, because these people are going to want a property that's, as we mentioned earlier, ready for move-in, that looks nice, that is literally selling them the dream of what a Dubai lifestyle is. So we want to achieve that sale as quickly as possible, right? And then, as you're used to as well, now, whether you've invested in properties with stake that have been sold, we've sold so far a full life cycle on the property. So properties that have been exited completely, fully, are standing at 10 right now, and that's going towards 15, hopefully very, very soon. This is paid out automatically through the app. The proceeds from the sale are distributed, are basically credited to your wallet, and you're able to either reinvest in something else or cash out. We, as well, what we're making sure and holding ourselves accountable to is being as transparent as you're used to. So detailing the outcomes of the project, giving you every piece of information on what the sale is looking like. I do want to take a bit of some time to note certain things on fix and flip properties, right? The first and kind of very unique selling point for a fix and flip property is that it has a shorter holding period than a standard investment strategy on stake. So this is anywhere between 12 and 20 to 24 months, and that's generally a range of where we're going to be looking at listing and projecting to sell the property. The property will be sold once an offer, as I mentioned in the previous slide, that it will be sold at the projected sale price or above. And as soon as that's received, we sell and we make sure that to get your money back ASAP. These properties are not available on the exit windows as well while they are under the investment strategy. We don't, basically, if you make this property available on an exit window and people are able to sell partially, that limits the capability of selling the property fully, right? You're buying into a property and you're looking to exit within 12 to 24 months. Finally, these properties are not income generating. They will not be rented because the end user, the buyer, who's an end user, is going to want to move into the property, and they're not going to be able to do that is if there's a tenant in the property. And as such, this is an appreciation focused strategy. The main goal is to sell the property fully as soon as possible. Now, what I do want to share is that our first fix and flip investment strategy is live, right? It's a 3-bedroom penthouse in Jumeirah Lake Towers. You can have a look on our platform. You can have a look on our website and see what the property is like. Now, we're sharing here some before and after pictures. You'll see on the right, it's a shell and core product. the property's vacant, that it's not been used. There's literally nothing in the property. There's no sanitary fixtures, no kitchen, nothing's been built. It's just, we call that shell and core. Just below that, you'll be able to see what the render looks like, what the potential of the property looks like. And these are 3D renders commissioned by our project managers and our designers. It's bespoke furniture. Everything is custom made for the property. It's got really stunning views. I've been to the property a few times myself. It's stunning views of the marina skyline. You can see as far as the Burj Al Arab. In some cases, you can even see downtown. And on the other side, you can see Ain Dubai and the Blue Water Islands passing through the entire Dubai marina skyline. A really unique thing about this property is it's getting sold at 1,000 dirhams per square foot almost, and the valuation is already from a third-party valuator regulated by RICS in the UK has already come at 7% below the valuation. So we're selling it at 7% below the valuation. So you're immediately realizing a gain on your investment. As I mentioned, the property is quite large. It's around 4,000 square feet, and it spans the entire floor or half the floor, and it has wraparound skyline views. It's being upgraded from a 3-bed penthouse to a luxurious 4-bed apartment with a maid's room and a front of house kitchen, a service kitchen, or a dirty kitchen, however you want to call it. And it's got open plan living, and it's really it's massive. I can't share the ROI just right now, but if you're onboarded on the Stake app, you can go and have a look for yourself. We are forecasting that the renovation works will take about 6 to 9 months. Ideally, we want to make sure we finish as quickly as possible. And the investment period is forecasted to be 12 to 18 months total. Again, we will try to sell at 12 months or hopefully before. You can scan this QR code that's on the screen to view more information and to invest in these properties. We're going to open up for Q&A, and we're going to be potentially going back to some slides if there's any questions on that. So feel free to drop in your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll be taking some of them online.
Any questions, guys? This is your chance. Ask us anything you want. You have everybody you need here.
Just an exciting bit of information. Now, I might get into trouble for saying this, but the property is almost fully funded. So that's really exciting for us. And we couldn't have predicted this to happen this quickly. Now, the demand's been incredible, and the reaction's been overwhelming. So thank you to anyone who's on this chat that's invested.
Yes, indeed, we are 99% funded. So if you have not and you are already KYC'd on the app and approved, definitely head there and get your share. Honestly, we launched at 5 p.m. So it's now 7. That's 2 hours. We didn't expect it to be fully funded in 2 hours. So whoever has not, definitely go there. Okay, so I'm just looking for some questions right now. Fraser Landern asks, can you please expand on potential areas other than JLT that you think are prime for renovation and investment? So, like mentioned earlier, Stake's premise, whether flip or not, is to target super prime areas. So that's JLT as one example. The IFC is another example. Business Bay is another example. JVC is another example. Dubai Marina is another example. The Palm is another example. So the areas that we currently source properties from, they will continue to be the properties that we source flip properties from.
Okay, I'll take this other question. Nikita asks, what are the key risks? So obviously, as with any investment opportunity, the risks are present. The fact is that, as Jad tried to explain through the slides, we try our best to manage the risks as much as possible. That's what we do with selecting, partners when it comes to executing the renovation. The the designs, the scope of work, the renovation budget, all of that's actually presented on the platform. A lot of work goes into that even before we list the property. So, a good 3-4 weeks has gone into actually going through those designs, figuring out exactly what are the pitfalls, what is the current condition of the property, and that's what we present to you. The other risk is around the selling price. We do spend a lot of time and effort as well to study the market and understand, where the trends are going in terms of the price, and try to take a bit of a conservative view in terms of what we're able to exit the property at. And the fact is that we're playing in a segment currently, which is the high-end luxury, that's just has a lot of demand and has been doing really well over the last few years, and it's going to projected to continue to do well, especially considering the number of high net worth individuals that are starting to call to buy home. So yeah, those are some of the key risks and what we're doing to try and manage them. So thanks, Nikita, for that good question.
I'd like to just quickly respond to Talal Murad. Talal Murad, you say sometimes Fahad, it seems like Fahad wanted to call the product flips. So as senior product manager, I just say fix and flips so often that I just cut it in half and I started saying the second half only, flips. That's a little sneak preview into life at stake. It's been something we've been working on for a while. So after a while, fix and flips started tripping my tongue up. So I started saying flips. Officially, it is indeed fix and flips.
There's been a few questions that regarding commercial properties at the moment. As we if I had a dime for every time we ask this question on a webinar, we'd be properties funded. Okay, cool. Yeah, so commercial property, I mean, this is a very common question, and we are working with the regulator. As you're aware, we're regulated by the DFSA, the Dubai Financial Services Authority, and the regulator, in an aim to protect retail investors, is not yet on board with commercial property, but stay tuned. We're working very closely with them, and make yourselves heard, and hopefully we'll be getting commercial properties very, very soon. Another question that I'd like to answer is regarding voting and investment strategy. So, for example, if you've invested in a fix and flip property, the investment duration on that property, let's say, is 12 to 18 months. So for the duration of the holding period, the property will be vacant, ideally, and we'd be looking to generate an offer and sell the property in the quickest time possible, as we mentioned earlier, for the best price possible. However, if that doesn't materialize for whatever reason, I could list a few reasons, but for whatever reason, it doesn't get materialized, and I think it's unlikely, especially with the slides that we've shown on the market, and we're really seeing the demand and the kind of influx of people into Dubai. But if that doesn't happen, then we will put out a vote to the investors and say, hey guys, like you haven't realized an exit. Here's two options. You can either continue to hold this investment as a fix and flip and look to realize for another 3 months, look to realize an exit. And if investors will be given the choice to either continue with that or switch over to the balanced investment strategy. So get the property rented out, get it to generate income, and then make it available in exit windows, make it available throughout for your choices as well.
There's also quite a few questions around the ROIs and how they're calculated, and also the holding period. So on the application, we're forecasting a holding period, which is 12 to 18 months in the case of our first flip, but could vary depending on the project. So what we want to say about that is that time frame is a conservative hold period, and it's entirely dependent on how the project is progressing. So obviously, if we have a renovation timeline of 6 to 9 months, and everything goes smoothly, we're able to actually conclude the project in 6 months. The property is going to be listed within 2 weeks of the renovations being done, provided all the sign-offs are done. So if once the property is listed at the end of the renovation, In an ideal world, we would get an offer right away. So that doesn't mean that if the holding period is 12 to 18 months, it's going to take 12 to 18 months to exit the property. So yeah, it's the returns are entirely dependent on how quickly we're able to execute on the work and also do the sale essentially. So the ROI could well be better depending on the time frame. So hopefully that addresses that question.
Okay, I'm going to pick up a few questions over here. I can see a question from Muhammad Ma'in. How can I filter in the app to see only a particular type of property? For example, only flips. Well, this is a feature that will be coming in the future on the listings page. Hold on for that. As for flips, they should be really easy to find. They're bright purple, and there's only one. It's fully funded now, so it's gone. You'll have to wait for the next one. But just hold on for the filter feature that's inshallah coming in the near to medium future. Moving on, there was another question I wanted to answer, Mr. Othman Kizito. You're asking, if you invest 500, how much will you get? I would direct you to the app. That's the best place for you to see. You can easily put in any amount that you want to invest, and we will display to you, whether flips or not flips, any property, what you can expect to receive in terms of return. And I'll hand over to Jad.
Thanks, guys. So there's a really cool question from Yahya. What if there was a problem with the contractor and the project becomes on hold? That's a really excellent question. And we've gone through lengthy processes to make sure that this doesn't happen. There's different measures in place, and basically there's an agreement with the project manager, there's an agreement with the contractor, right? And if you remember earlier, one of them is meant to manage the other, the execution of the work, the quality, the deliverables on site, make sure everything is done properly. Now, I personally, from experience, worked in construction for a few years in Dubai, and I know how unreliable some contractors are. And that's why our due diligence and our vetting process is really extensive. We won't be partnering up with anyone. We want to make sure these contractors are reliable. We release payments to them based on progress, and they're paid in arrears, not in advance. They will get an advance payment to initiate the works and to get some manufacturing going for bespoke furniture and kitchens and so on, procure some items, but the payments are only released based on progress. So let's say they default. They're given a very little chance to default, but if they do default, then we stop releasing their payments and we appoint someone else to continue the project. And as a safety measure, we've included that operational buffer, right? A percentage of the renovation cost is calculated as a buffer. And in case there's any cost overruns for those reasons, that's available there. But our goal as a business, and the goal of the project manager as well, is to make sure that these are not utilized and they're completely refunded back to you fully at the time of exit. Same thing goes for the project manager. If the project manager is not attending to their duties, there's contract agreements as well. We can sue them. We can make sure they're delivering. But we have our team that's managing the project manager, going to the site, having regular meetings, regular touch points with them, inspecting their works, right? It's not, as we said it earlier, it's not our first rodeo. We kind of want to make sure that these partners that we know and trust are delivering to the best of their knowledge. Sorry, and there was another cool question, an interesting question about potentially stake flipping a property back to stake investors. Now would be excellent, right? Let's say the property, then I can talk about it a bit more freely now. The Saba townhouse, the Saba Tower penthouse, excuse me, will eventually be sold for quite an appreciation. And it's not a product for investors, it's a product for end users, right? There's if you go on the app and you'll see the work that's being done to the property, this is like beautiful. Honestly, I'll share something with you. I counted 6 different people on the stake team say, "Oh wow, can I live there?" Because it's so beautiful. It's actually striking, and when you imagine what it's going to be like, and that's a product for an end user. Now, we could, in theory, put it back to stake investors, but the price is not going to make sense for them. They're not end users. It's yeah. Ideally, we want to flip the property to a buyer who's gonna make use of it in the future. There is a really cool question about our pipeline and how many flip opportunities are in the pipeline. Now, hang tight. I can't really spill everything on it, but definitely there's more properties coming soon. We're in touch with many of our partners, whether they're agents or project managers, and looking to do more. We're, as we mentioned earlier, like we're quite blown away by the reaction to the property. It funded, I think, in just over 2 hours. So yeah, we will be coming up with more opportunities. It's not just going to be penthouses, it will be townhouses, it will be villas, really any area that fits the criteria that we mentioned earlier. So whether it's your Emirates living, your downtown Dubai, Dubai Marina, kind of even the slightly less central but areas that show a lot of potential with maybe some infrastructure projects coming up or some school developments and so on, you'll see many more options come up on stake between now and the rest of the year. As I said, we're very excited with the response, and we're hopefully doing many more. There's been a really cool question about potentially holding for longer, right? To realize a bigger gain if the market keeps going up. Now, definitely, you want to time the market. You want to make sure you're entering and exiting at the right amount. But as we mentioned in a previous webinar, there isn't really a right time, right? There isn't a perfect time. So potentially, we want to make sure that, like the Saba property example, we want to make sure that we sell it at the perfect price. Now, whether that comes in within 12 months or 18 months, obviously we want to maximize it. But our goal is also to get your highest annualized return on investment. So that's exit in the quickest time frame. So sometimes it's better to accept or go for an offer if it matches the criteria that you agreed to when investing in the property. So the annualized ROI, the projected sale price, get that within 12 months rather than wait 18 months for the same offer, right? So we'll definitely be working with the right people to make that available.
There's a question about whether what we have as a profit target and just around how the selling process works. So if you're familiar with our application, it's very simple. When we list a property, we have a target price for what we're expecting to sell the property, and that's fueling the ROI. So typically we target anywhere from 10 to 12% on our fix and flip opportunities. And once that target selling price is achieved, when it's listed in the market, then we go ahead and sell the property. If the target price is not achieved, then we continue to market it. And obviously, if we get a price higher than what we're targeting, even better, then the ROIs goes back to the investor. So you get to keep all that extra from what we initially projected. In the case where the holding period passes and we're still unable to sell the property, then obviously, as we're democratizing real estate investing, we have our voting system where investors can choose what they want to do with the property. So in some cases, there might be an option to rent it out and generate some rental income, or continue to hold and look for the right time to sell. So that's entirely up to you as investors in the property. It's a democratized voting process where majority rules. So at least that would happen in those cases.
I'm gonna take up one question here from an anonymous attendee, asking, townhouses, villas are suitable for this type of strategy. Can you explain how does the old building against the renovated slash new flat attract buyers? Well, in the same spirit as the general principle is we're buying something that is undervalued in the market, that has a lot of potential for looking a lot better than it does. And combining that with buying only in prime areas, the fix and flip strategy stays the same. It's suitable because we see a lot of potential in the capital growth going up after the renovation. And that's true whether it's a townhouse or villa or an apartment. The first flip was a penthouse. So who knows what the future flips will be. There's no limit to what we'll do. We might do villas, we might do townhouses. We'll see in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Fahad. So there's a really cool question from Ehab. Can I offer my property to stake under fix and flip? Absolutely, you can. Our team will do the due diligence on the property. And the way you can share that is through contact@getstake, contact@getstake.com, basically. And yeah, we'll share with us some information about the property. We'll reply to you on there. And by the way, guys, like we're getting some really awesome questions. So thank you very much. I'm just cautious of time. So please make sure to type in all your questions so that we can make sure to answer them. An anonymous attendee asked, what's the fee structure for flips? And I'm actually going to go back a couple of slides just to illustrate that. Sorry, just making sure I'm on the right slide. Here we go. So on the app, you'll be able to see a very detailed breakdown of the costs, right? You'll see at the top the investment cost. So that's essentially your cost to buy into the property. Let's say in this case, it's around 2.5. It's exactly 2.5 million dirhams. That's made up of a property price of 2.1 million, right? You're buying the property at sorry, there's a typo actually there. But anyway, you're buying the property at 2.1 million dirhams. The transaction costs there, and if you click the I button, you'll be able to see what that entails. The transaction costs are what you use to a stake, as I mentioned previously. So your 4% Dubai Land Department fee or your 5% DIFC fee on buying the property. It includes the 2% agency commission fee. It includes the setup costs for the SPV. It includes the listing costs, so getting the valuation, the 3D tours, everything done. And then next you have the renovation budget, right? Well, in this case, it's mentioned as 350,000 dirhams, just as an example. That renovation budget includes the work of the contractor, so delivering the turnkey solution from start to finish, from getting those permits and approvals to get the works done, all the way until handing over the keys. And that includes the cost for the fitting out the kitchen, getting custom cabinetry and custom furniture in, and so on and so forth. It also includes the project manager's fee, how much the project manager is charging to look after this renovation work. And then finally, there's the operational budget. In this case, the operational budget covers however much is needed to operate the property. So we budget for service charges for the first year, we budget for insurance, and so on. I think, that should answer your question. And then if you look at, you want to see exit fee. So you look at the bottom part of the screen that says how much you bought the property at. So how much is your all-in investment cost? How much is the appreciation that you're realizing? And then any refunds on the unutilized buffers and the funds that we pre-budgeted for, and any exit transaction costs. Exit transaction costs is basically paying any broker fees that are associated with this and so on.
Okay.
Sorry, Fahad. We also had a question about the updates. So what happens after the property is funded, and how often do we actually update investors on what's going on? So every month we're planning to have comms that will go out to investors in the specific property, just kind of carrying you along as we progress with executing on the renovation. So initially getting the permits, then later step by step, we'll be providing updates directly through our platform, both images, videos, and also by report. So yeah.
Guys, we've reached the end of the webinar. I'd like to thank everybody for joining. We hope you learned about fix and flips. And even though the opportunity is now fully funded, watch out for the next one, hopefully coming soon, inshallah. And have a great day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.